So Ron would have not been governor if it wasn't for me, and that's okay. Number one, he wouldn't have gotten a nomination, and number two, he wouldn't have beaten his Democrat opponent. So then when I hear he might run, I consider that very disloyal. But
I roll out of bed. I have people attacking me from all angles. It's been happening for many, many years. The good thing is that the people are able to render a judgment on that. And I'm happy to say, in my case, we won by the largest raw vote margin, over 1.5 million votes. What I would just say is that verdict has been rendered.
Boom, bam, pow. There's a fight ahead in the Republican Party. And right now it's between Trump and DeSantis. DeSantis, who recently won the Florida governor's race by a record number of votes for a Republican, is pushing back, while Trump does what all sociopaths do, attack anyone and everyone they perceive as a threat. As Mike Pence and Nikki Haley prepare to enter the Republican primary, it's pretty obvious that Trump feels most threatened by DeSantis, who's doing his own version of crazy down in Florida, pushing for legislation like Don't Say Gay, a ban on Florida teachers discussing any LGBT issue, and now attacking Black history in state schools and universities. But that isn't stopping Trump from trying to make DeSantis appear to MAGA as a liberal. This Wednesday morning, Trump posted this on True Social. The real Ron is a RINO globalist who closed quickly down Florida and even its beaches, loved the vaccines and wasted big money on testing. How quickly people forget. Okay, his tiny fingers attacks DeSantis. It's interesting to study the substance of his claims. Let's start with RINO globalist. As you know, RINO means Republican in name only, which began as a shot at moderate Republicans who tried to actually do their jobs. And globalist is a shot at politicians who recognize the meaningful substance behind sane foreign policy and macroeconomics, both difficult subjects for Trump's tiny brain.
Fake news.
But Trump's attack on vaccines and COVID directly contradicts his actions as president. I mean, he was vaccinated early, and there was moderate to great success with social distancing and testing.
Well, you can't know that.
Trump's failures during the pandemic, combined with his ability to lie about his actions,
I wanted to always play it down,
while calling critics, many of which were governors and state health directors, fake news, is almost exactly the game plan he used in 2016 and his 2020 campaigns. He attacks everyone whom he perceives as a threat, and now it's DeSantis.
But mostly Mr. Trump focused on attacking a potential 2024 rival, Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSanctimonious,
calling him a, quote, average Republican governor with great public relations. Mr. Trump posting that, quote, Ron came to me in desperate shape before his 2018 Florida election, and that he saved DeSantis from being, quote, politically dead. Mr. Trump has also been defending himself over the midterm results. But some Republicans are trying to turn away from the party's former leader, placing blame for a worse-than-expected election at Mr. Trump's feet.
While Trump attacks DeSantis, the question is, when will the Republicans fight back? Some early polls show Trump ahead of DeSantis, while others indicate that Republicans are tired of Trump's rancor, backstabbing, and, well, despite the GOP taking the House, MAGA's poor performance in the primaries.
We keep losing and losing and losing. And the fact of the matter is, the reason we're losing is because Donald Trump has put himself before everybody else.
The question is, when will Republicans tire of Trump's bashing of anyone who disagrees with him? Here's a video Trump posted of DeSantis.
I would be somebody who would be different. I think you see that I've been recognized nationally as being somebody who would be different, who would be a leader, who could be somebody like a Paul Ryan very quickly.
So Trump is using former House Speaker Paul Ryan, a former ally, as bait, attempting to sway the lunatic fringe of the GOP away from meaningful dialogue in Congress regarding, well, everything. The economy, climate change, racism, China, Russia, technology. Instead, Trump rallies the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the party to campaign on gay grooming of children, Hispanic murderers, Antifa, and BLM, all while red states suffer from real economic and cultural crises, such as manufacturing heading overseas and a rise in domestic violence and murder rates. But every time a Republican stands up to Trump, Tiny Fingers pulls out his sickle and menacingly threatens any and all Republicans or Democrats with his mob. From the early days in Charlottesville, to George Floyd's murder, to the attack on the Michigan governor, to January 6th.
We're trying to get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
Trump attacks not with eloquence and grace, but like a castrated bull in the backseat of a Pinto. The question is, can DeSantis win without using the same tools? The truth is, Trump's tweet was incorrect on a few levels. DeSantis has been anything but progressive during the pandemic. He has pushed for legislation prohibiting children from being vaccinated and has tried to use executive powers to prohibit masks in government buildings. And most recently, he has attacked documented historical events regarding the story of African Americans.
While this is all happening, Governor DeSantis is now also talking about his administration's decision to reject an advanced placement course focused on African American studies.
So here's the question. What works best in 2023 moving forward? A conventional campaign using carefully chosen language that appeals to the broader masses, or the bare-knuckle attack that Trump has used to some success? I say some because Trump's 2016 electoral victory and his 2020 loss, where both times he lost a popular vote by a combined 10 million plus, exemplifies the concern for Republicans nationally. How long can the country handle this kind of backstabbing in-party chaos?
We don't need more politicians who love to go on TV and talk about our problems. We need real leaders with a record of delivering solutions.
In 6 years, Trump has repeatedly attacked Republicans, some of whom supported him early, like Reagan, Bush 41, George W. Bush, Jeb Bush, Ted Cruz, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Nikki Haley, Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham, Mike Pence, Chris Christie, Governor Kasich, Rand Paul, and more. Some of them fought back, but they were way overmatched.
Trump is a idiot. I'm for Donald Trump.
And now, here's Ron DeSantis. Now, there are GOP strategists who follow the Lindsey Graham Trump fluffer strategy. If you don't know what fluffer is, don't look it up. All while they kneel before the fat one and let him attack Democrats on their behalf. But despite Trump's attacks on Hillary, still, and Biden, there are GOP concerns about Trump's relationship with white supremacists and Putin. So, I have a few questions for the Republican Party moving forward. Can Trump win in 2024? And along those lines, what about Fox and OAN and Newsmax? Where will they stand? Would a Merrick Garland indictment strengthen or weaken Trump's chances? If Trump doesn't get the nomination, could he mount what would surely be a disastrous third-party campaign? I mean, he definitely could, but who would finance that campaign?
Russia, if you're listening.
If DeSantis starts to pull ahead, could the GOP offer Trump something to mollify his anger, like a pardon or a weekend at Stormy's? Can DeSantis win outside a state where the majority of the population think The Flintstones is a documentary? Is this a worst-case scenario where DeSantis fails on a national stage and in doing so strengthens tiny fingers?
You know, I think Governor DeSantis is the biggest single winner of the night.
And finally, is there life in the GOP after Trump? Can the party of George Santos and recently eunuched Kevin McCarthy ever embrace a sane diplomacy amongst their peers and adversaries?
We're probably not going to do really well.
As DeSantis and Trump square off, can their debate be a mature discussion of facts and policies without it morphing into sophomoric name-calling?
I like Trump policies, but I'm ready for somebody new. There are no Trump policies without Donald Trump.
And if Trump loses the fight and disappears gracefully, what happens to the million MAGA mob? Are we naive enough to think that the truly insane thread that runs through the GOP will be ignored? Not likely. While Trump and DeSantis fight, the real threat is growing. Hatred and bigotry that just won't go away. The party of Lincoln? Not anymore. It's hers now.
Have you guys been following 4chan? Q.
Goddamn right.
Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe and follow us on YouTube at Really American.